Okay, Jordan, just letting you know we are rolling in eScribe and YouTube, so ready when you are.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, it's 4:15, so I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll call the Land Use and Planning Committee to order. We continue to meet virtually, and instructions to join the live meeting are available on the agenda. You can find that at ci.missoula.mt.us/webcasts. Our first item of business is roll call. Amanda, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Anderson?
She's going to be absent.
Absent. Becerra?
Present.
Carlino? Is absent. Contos? Is absent. Hess?
Present.
Jones?
Present.
Jordan?
Present.
Nugent?
Present.
Savage?
She also indicated she'd be absent.
Absent. Okay. And Cheryl?
Present.
Fasika?
Present.
And Wes
And
is
she's also
absent.
remotely.
Okay. It is not telling me you don't have a quorum, so I do believe you have a quorum.
Yeah, it looks like we have 7, so we should be good there. We have minutes from both meetings on May 4th. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, those will stand approved. There are no members of the public, so I'll just note that there is no public comment. And also, I'll note that that Daniel Carlino joined us. So we just have one regular agenda item, and this is an informational session following up on our staff report on Monday night during the public hearing on the floodplain hazard management regulations update. And we have Cassie and Alex here. And I don't know if either of you want to give any additional information or recap, or we can just go right into questions and discussion, but I'll turn it over to Cassie and Alex.
Yeah, I can start off just to add some clarifying information about the remapping that will occur later this year and what that timeline is like. And then Alex has some information to address questions that came up last time. So as far as the remapping project, we still have yet to receive draft data from DNRC at the state. They should be sending us draft maps within the month, and those will just be for staff to review, look for possible errors, typos, things of that sort. I've reached out to Jordan, but DNRC would like to meet with city council in small groups to really go through the data in detail. And then starting June or July, we'll kick it off with actual public informational item hearings. In the fall, we'll have community outreach open houses in combination with the county, where DNRC will set up booths, be open to the public. We're planning on a hybrid meeting and going to look for a big enough space to hold that. But it can take a long time, year or two, for the maps to actually be adopted because they go through pretty strict federal review. But just to give an idea of what's ahead. There are questions on that piece? Right.
It doesn't look like it, so we can certainly come back to that too.
Alex. Oh, Alex, I can't hear you. If you're on our work laptops, similar to how you disable and re-enable the speakers, there's a microphone option.
Hello.
There we go.
Am I there now?
Yep, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Thanks. So I have some updated slides based on some of the questions that came up on Monday, just for visual purposes. So again, these are the letter of map revisions. There was 2 of them. So that's what we're updating, and I'll show you here in Appendix A. So there's 2 new ones. They're just going to run through a quick visual of kind of what those look like. So here on the left, this is for the Middle Grant Creek. This is the current map that we have from What's My Zoning. It takes from the FEMA floodplain layer. And so what you can see is just the current, or what was, I guess now in this case, previous conditions that were shown on Grant Creek. And then this is the map that was submitted on the right-hand side with the letter of map revision with the modifications. It's pretty minor as you kind of start to look back and forth. There's really not a whole lot of changes that have happened. Grant Creek is not largely, it's not small, but it's not like the Clark Fork either. So when we do see these letter of map revisions to smaller creeks and smaller portions, you won't see real drastic changes. And same thing on the left-hand side, this is for Rattlesnake Dam removal. The left side is what was previously showing what you'll still see on the maps, because every time there's a letter of map revision, the maps themselves, like the database, the GIS doesn't change, but they have the letter here. And so you can kind of see like this dark little area here, that's where the dam was. And so this is again, the map that was submitted for the letter of map revision that was approved. And this black area is just outlining the changes that were made. So again, it's going to be minor. The Rattlesnake Dam and the creek itself is not very, fast flowing with major changes. So you can see some of this area here on what the revision is no longer in the floodplain. So it's kind of some subtle differences like that. Further, there was some questions about kind of repetitive loss. And so here's just some info, and I can run through it in a second. Generally speaking, though, there is repetitive loss, but when both Cassie and I were in the training to do floodplain management, they were pretty strongly encouraging that any real questions that are closely linked and tied to insurance should be brought to your insurance agent. They're the ones that can give the most information and the real clear detail on the policy itself that you hold and what they're going to cover, things like that. But so general information about repetitive loss. A repetitive loss property is any insurable building for which 2 or more claims of more than 1,000 were paid by the NFIP within any rolling 10-year period, and that's marked since 1978. So structures that flood frequently strain the NFIP fund. In fact, repetitive loss properties are the biggest draw on the fund. FEMA has paid $3.5 billion on claims for repetitive loss properties. Repetitive loss properties are not only increase the NFIP's annual losses and the need for borrowing, but they drain the funds needed to prepare for catastrophic events. And kind of lastly, just general info, FEMA's repetitive loss property strategy ultimately is to eliminate or reduce the damage to property and the disruption to life caused by repeated flooding of the same properties. Obviously, if we know a property is going to flood, we don't want to just repair it. We want to get it out of that floodplain. And slightly further, some changes that were made and went into effect October of last year is the actual rating properties will get through the insurance company. And it's now called Risk Rating 2.0, where previously the rate for your insurance policy was based on whether you were essentially in or out of the floodplain, and it was kind of a flat rate, generally speaking. But now with Risk Rating 2.0, there's various factors that go into, and Cassie can correct me where I'm wrong, but various factors that go into each rate for your policy. So instead of just being you're in or out of the floodplain, like where's your property in relation to, is it already elevated? There's various other factors that are looked at to get a more specific rate that actually is tied to your property. So if you don't have much of a high flood risk, you get a lower rate versus properties with higher flood risk will have a higher rate. So that's kind of general info and knowledge on that. that's most of my update from the council meeting.
Great. Thanks for providing those. Those are really helpful. I know that Heidi had a lot of questions around those and is unable to be here today. So I'm sure she'll take a look at the recording and may follow up. Does anyone else have any questions from any of those materials? Okay. Well, this is back on the 16th, right, for final consideration? Okay.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions or discussion items, we can certainly take those now, or if not, we can call it a day. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. And then I just note also that there's no public here for public comment. So we can probably wrap up then. But thank you for the really informative presentation on Monday and the follow-up today. I received in downtown Missoula today on the street feedback that the floodplain presentation was awesome. So pass that along.
Okay.
Yeah. And without anything further, we can be adjourned today.